Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello, welcome to the Answers Yes. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, if you haven't heard my show with Mike Follett yet, he was just on. He is a publisher, but he's also an entrepreneur connected with people like Mark Evans DM. But what a great show, wonderful content about taking your business to the next level and being an entrepreneur. Not too often do I have guests back for a second round because the show's about our history and our stories. And once you get that, you kind of get it. But Jack Donovan really appeals to my senses when I follow his stuff on Instagram and some of the things that he's doing. So I've asked Jack to be back on. So Jack, thank you for coming back on the air.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, by the way, I had your buddy Ethan Buck on the show not too long ago.
Yeah.
That guy is so hilarious. So he's in the Lion's Den with Sean Whalen, and within that, there's kind of its own little Facebook group, And he posts the funniest shit. And I'm like, I got to meet this guy. I didn't know you guys were connected. I got to meet him. I'm going to have him on my show. And then once we're on the show, he said, oh, I think you had my friend Jack on before, But what a comedian.
Oh, yeah, he's a funny guy. And obviously, I'm sure he told you. I mean, he has a pretty crazy story. I mean, he used to be a punk rocker and all that. So, we've been friends for several years.
You guys, I don't know your specific age, but you're closer to my age than the 18 to 20-year-old, okay? But you guys are committed to your fitness and what you're doing. And I've noticed you've posted a series of pictures, and thank you for that, because it shows your willingness to kind of put yourself out there. Just like when I wrote my book, it's like, oh, they're going to read my stuff now. You've posted. What is it about? What are you working on physically, and where are you going with that, and the transformation you're in?
Well, because you mentioned it, I am 47.
Yeah,
and this year I just decided, it depends what, physically you have to keep doing new things. And I've talked about this, on Instagram and so forth. You have to keep doing new things because otherwise you turn into a piece of garbage. And so you have to keep finding whatever interests you over time, whether it's Olympic lifting or powerlifting or just regular bodybuilding. And this year, I put a lot of time into jiu-jitsu in the past few years, and I only have so many years left. I only have so many years left to reach kind of a full potential.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to try bodybuilding and see, I'm already very strong. I'm not worried about not being strong, and so I wanted to see, I'm like, well, how much can I make myself look like a statue? Like, how, that guy that you always want to be when you're a kid and you are watching superhero movies and whatever, like how close can I get?
Yeah.
So it was just something that I wanted to do for me. And so I hired a bodybuilding coach, and that's really helpful because, I already looked fine. I was already healthy. I already looked fine. And to get to that next level, you need someone who is focused on that, because everyone in your life is going to say, you look fine, have a cheeseburger.
Right.
And so I wanted to, push it further. So there's definitely a shame factor involved in having a coach who's in his late 20s and is a, competitive bodybuilder. And I have to send him pictures of myself in my underwear once a week.
Yeah.
And, you don't want to be worse than last week.
Right.
you know, so it's really helpful. And that's what coaches are for that kind of accountability.
Yeah. You brought up two things. One of them was looking at maximizing your potential, right? And
yes.
What's interesting is, at 47, to do what you're doing right now and considering maximizing your potential, I don't think men or women think about that enough. Like, how can I maximize my potential right now here where I'm at in life, and to take that step? So you decide you're going to, okay, I want to look like that statue, right? Did you have to go through a mental process to really get in that zone to go after it?
I mean, I like training anyway, so it is fun. It's not like horrible torture for me. it is there. This has been a lot of consistency and a lot of volume, and it's been hard, but I I don't feel like I needed to change my mental space. I just wanted to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I always find it strange when people don't want to find a way to become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Like that what meme or whatever. Like this is fine. As everything's on fire around you. I want to be. As I said, I only have so many years left. To be in my prime. I mean, like I'm not going to do this. I might do it when I'm I know actually a priest who he's an Orthodox priest who competed in his first bodybuilding show recently in his like early 60s.
Wow.
So if you're healthy, why not just see what you can be?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, that age 47, I went to a trainer at 47. I said, I want to be as healthy as I can be at 50 because at the time my daughter was 3 and my other one was just born. And now at 54, I'm in great shape. And I'm so grateful for that time I put in to enjoy my kids. But the second thing that you said a minute ago was oftentimes people go to you like, you look fine. Just eat a cheeseburger, right? Because fine is acceptable to them. And that's the hard part is pushing back on people that want to keep you, I don't know, at the norm, right? That lower level, complacent.
Yeah. I mean, well, what's normal and what's extreme? And if you want an extreme result, you have to take extreme measures.
Yeah.
And so normal is just getting by. And, if I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder, that's a whole different level of extreme.
Yeah.
And I'd have to be really devoted to that and whatever. That's not really my goal right now. Although they were trying to talk me into doing a show, and I'm like, maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Like, we'll see. But and it's interesting because obviously when I started, that wasn't even on the table.
Yeah.
And so that's the new opportunity and maybe something that could be life altering in some way. And unless you put yourself out there, you don't get that.
Yeah, just curious. Are you satisfied where you're at right now, or do you have some more progress to go?
Oh no, bodybuilding gives you terrible body dysmorphia, and right now I'm yes, do I look better than I've ever looked in my life? Probably. Am I still like, well, my legs are small, my lats are garbage, and like if I wanted to do a double bicep, I really got nothing, and it's so you're being hypercritical at that point. Which is where you have to be excellent in anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to take a break here in a few weeks. I don't know if I'm taking a break forever. I mean, I'm always going to work out. I have to go. I'm going to Texas to pig hunt with a couple friends of mine for a few days, and I'm obviously not going to be starving myself while I'm doing that.
Right.
So, I'll take a little break for probably the month of April, and then see where we're at.
Jack, your life, when viewed from an Instagram post, for example, you incorporate art into your beliefs, into who you are as a person. And, I think that you're able to express things that a lot of us would like to because you've got that artistic side. Where did that come from and how do you maintain such consistency with that? I mean, it takes a certain amount of discipline and focus and direction, I'm sure.
Well, I have a very well developed aesthetic sense. I was winning drawing contests when I was like in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's always been a part of my life and that's kind of my first talent before I was ever a writer. So I've been working on that and been interested in that all my life. And I've been developing this aesthetic sense that just, I've had people say like, I could imagine what a Jack Donovan, like anything would look like at this point, because it's very specific. I always call it Flintstones. Like it's primitive future. Like there's a point in like the 50s and 60s and where they were doing like primitive stuff, but in a futuristic way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of all looks like the Flintstones. And that's kind of my aesthetic in a strange way. Because obviously it deals with primitive man and everything that I have to, that I pull from in my work. So, I've just been developing that sense for a long time. And as far as Instagram, I've been taking self-portraits since I was like 15, back when I was using film and cameras. So like Instagram was perfect for me in that way, because I get to talk about ideas. It's changed a lot now recently, but I get to talk about ideas and create something that's artistic. and appealing. I always say my Instagram character is Orange Dr. Manhattan.
Ah,
Because he's a man wandering a world, thinking about ideas. And so, I try to take adventures out to see things that are related to the ideas that I'm talking about.
yeah.
And I think we talked briefly about maybe discussing. I went to see there's earth art from the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and I find that fascinating that you buy property is part of your art. You buy property, and then create a structure on it, the narcissistic structure, and then leave it there forever.
Yeah.
And so all these things are out in the middle of the nowhere, and you take it's Robert Smithson is one of the artists, Michael Heiser, and you might have to drive 2 hours out in the middle of some desert, and then you find this thing that people almost take pilgrimages to see instead of a museum. It's a fascinating kind of art. And there's Michael Heiser is actually still alive, and he is constructing something out in the Nevada desert, has been doing it since the 70s. It's like a multi-million-dollar project called City, and it's built out of cement, and it's this like city that isn't actually a city. It's just like shapes, but he's been building it since the 70s. And it was supposed to open last year, but with all the mess, it didn't do it. So I would really love to see that sometime in my lifetime. So I think it's interesting to go out and find these things that are related to your ideas and add something to it. Add something rather than just talking about ideas, which is cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but to add a picture to it, because masculinity in America, we are missing culture.
Yeah.
In it, and it's something I'm going to talk about, I think, in some speeches in the future here. But men in America are kind of discouraged from having an aesthetic sense, and really, men build all the cathedrals and made all the famous art that's ever been made up until the last century. And men did this. This is what men did, and it was part of being a man and appreciating beauty and wanting the world to be beautiful. And I think we need to re-examine our relationship with that in America. And there's a lot of reasons why I think we don't maybe have that relationship in the way that they do in Europe. I always laugh, like we have to hire Australians and Englishmen to play our heroes. Like we have to hire Russell Crowe to come and play the gladiator, because there aren't enough American like actors who have like gravitas. Like they haven't been trained in Shakespeare in high school and like all that. So because it's unmanly to do that. You're supposed to play football.
Yeah.
But these guys play football and do that. That's why I like that James O'Keefe guy. I think it's funny that he does musical theater and he's also like the world's most notorious reporter.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, interesting. Just going back to this earth art, what I love about it, and by the way, if you're listening, look it up, and you'll have to dig kind of deep on Jack's Instagram feed to find some of that earth art that he filmed.
Yeah. I did a movie about it on YouTube too, which is like, it shows all of it better, and it has the aerial shots.
Okay.
So it's called 3 Earthworks, and it's on my YouTube channel.
3 Earthworks. I watched that, and it was awesome, right? And I guess the point I was trying to make is that I watched that on your Instagram feed, and then I did watch the video on YouTube. It just took me to a different place. As an off-road racer, I spent a lot of time in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, and you see things that most people will never see in their entire lifetime. So I kind of compared it to that. But an actual art installation that you can go see, like I said, drive a couple hours. But what I loved about it is that you incorporated some music to it, right? A composer to it. And it just took me to a different place for that 1 or 2 minutes, whatever it was on your Instagram. Then I went and watched the other video. And I think oftentimes, as you alluded to, men have lost that, right? Finding the beauty in things and finding the center of what could be and where we could go with it, So I love what you're doing with that.
Thank you. It's really good to find that balance. I've been trying to figure out what we could call it. England has James Bond. Like he's this dangerous guy who also knows what Quina Lillet is and can order a cocktail. But it's this balance. That, and a lot of guys are talking about it. If you look like John Lavelle, he has a Warrior Poet Society. My friend Josh Tyler has his brand Savage Gentleman, and there's a lot of guys trying to like bring that balance back.